Welcome back, friends. In this video I am going to talk about the next CPU scheduling algorithm, which is round robin algorithm. This is one of the very important algorithm which is implemented by many operating systems such as Windows, Linux, Android operating systems, Mac OS, etc. So let's get started. So the criteria in round robin algorithm is called as the time quantum, which is also known as the time slice. What is a time quantum? Time quantum is the fixed duration of time for which every process is going to get the CPU. And once the time quantum duration is over, the running process must be preempted from CPU and OS will schedule the next process. Now, how OS will decide which next process to schedule? It will look at the arrival times of those processes which are waiting now. Now let me give you the analogy. Let's say you go to any ticket window where you want to get some ticket. Now, when you arrive at that ticket window, you stand. If there is a already formation of the queue there, let's say 5 people are standing in the queue. You go and stand back of the queue. That means those persons have created the queue according to their arrival times at the ticket window, and in that same sequence they are going to get the ticket. Same here. Let's say the operating system defines the time quantum as 5 milliseconds and few processes arrives and they form a queue according to the arrival time. Now what OS will do, according to that queue, for each process it will allocate the 5 milliseconds, and once the 5 millisecond is over for a process, it will put that process back in the queue and again give the time quantum to the next process. The mode in which this algorithm works is the preemptive. Let me explain this round robin algorithm with the help of this question. So I have taken here 6 processes which are arriving at different times given, and these are the burst times of these processes. Let me assume that the time quantum given for this example is 2 time units. So for any process, maximum time can be allocated by the OS is 2 time units in the CPU, after which it will get preempted. So let's try to draw the Gantt chart for this numerical. So to solve the questions of round robin algorithm, you need to maintain a queue data structure. Why it is required? As we said that it is required to maintain the sequence of processes in which they are going to get the CPU. Okay. Now, how to form this queue of processes? The queue is formed in these 2 events. Means when these 2 events will occur, I am going to put a process in the queue. What are these 2 events? The first event is whenever a process arrives, no matter which process is running. Let's say a process arrives at certain time. Whenever it arrives, I am going to put that process in the back of the queue. The second criteria or the second event is whenever a process is preempted from the CPU, which is the running process. Let's say the time quantum of running process is over, then we have to preempt that process. And whenever it is preempted, we have to put back that process in the queue so that it will get the second chance after some time in CPU. So I'll be keeping track of the remaining burst time also after allocation of time quantum to every process. So here is my queue. Let me start with the process P1, which is arriving at time 0. At this moment, at time 0, process P1 arrives. Now whenever a process arrives, I have to put that process in the queue. So in the queue, I have put the process P1. Now in the queue, there is only one process and I have to make the decision. The decision making is very simple in round robin algorithm. Whichever process is at the front of the queue, that will get the chance in CPU for execution. So as of now, I have only one process P1. So straight away, I am going to schedule that process P1 and assign it the time quantum 2. So from 0 to 2, that process is going to execute. So the remaining burst time of that process is going to be the 5 minus 2, that is 3. So in the future, whenever that process P1 will get chance, I have to allocate this remaining time for that process. Now when this process was under execution, at time t is equal to 1, process P2 arrives. Whenever process arrives, I have to put that process in queue. So I have kept it in a queue now. Again at time t is equal to 2, process P3 is arriving. I will again put that process in the queue. As of now, the head of the queue is at P1 and P1 is under execution, let's assume. Now at time t is equal to 2, process P1 needs to be preempted here. So put back that process in the queue. And I'm going to increment the head of the queue now. So the head of the queue is pointing to the process P2 and straight away at time t is equal to 2, the next process which is going to get the CPU is P2. I am allocating 2 time units for this process P2 now. The remaining time would be 4 minus 2, that is 2. While this process is running, at time 3, process P4 arrives. So I am going to put that process in queue. At time t is equal to 4, process P5 arrives. So again put that process in queue. One more time let me tell you, whenever process arrives, you have to put that process in queue. Now at time t is equal to 4, process P2's time quantum is over. So that's how I am going to preempt that process and put back in the queue. Let's increment the head and repeat the process. So now the head points at P3. Let's schedule the process P3 for 2 time units. And let's decrement the remaining burst time by 2 because you have allocated 2 time units and it is now 1. Meanwhile, the process P6 arrives at time t is equal to 5. So I have to put that process in queue. At time t is equal to 6, process P3's time quantum is over. That's how I have to put back that process in queue. So I have to put the process P3 back in the queue and repeat the process. Let's increment the head now. It will point to the next process in queue, that is P1 now. Let's schedule the process P1 for 2 time units and decrement the remaining burst time to 1. Again, process P1 will get preempted at 8 and it requires a time in future. 1 time unit is still remaining. So I have to put back that process in queue. Let's increment the head. It will now point to process P4 and let's schedule it. It will run for 2 time units and let's decrement its burst time. So in future it is going to need 4 time units. Let's put that process back in the queue. Increment the head again. It will now point to process P5 and let's schedule the process P5. And since process P5 needs only 2 time units, I have allocated the 2 time units and the remaining time is 0. Means the process P5 has completed at 12. Let's continue. Whenever a process completes, we don't have to put that process in queue now. I'm just here going to increment the head and proceed. So now the head will point to process P2. Let's schedule the process P2 for 2 time units and let's decrement the remaining burst time to 0. 2 minus 2 is 0. Again, the process P2 is completing here, so I am not going to put that process in queue, and I am simply incrementing the head to the next process, which is P6. Let's schedule the process P6 and give the time quantum as 2 and decrement its remaining burst time to 2. As it required 2 time units in future also, let's put back the process P6 in queue and then increment the head to the next process. Now it points to P3, and let's schedule the process P3. I'm giving here P3 only one time unit, not the entire time quantum, that is which is 2. 2 is the maximum time I can allocate to process, but here P3 needs only one time unit to complete, and that's why from 16 to 17 it will run and it will complete at 17, making the remaining time as 0. I don't have to put the process P3 back in the queue because it is completed at 17 now. Let's increment the head of the queue, which points to P1 now. P1 will get chance in CPU. Again, here P1 requires one time unit, and at 18 it will finish. Let's not put back the process P1 in queue because it is completed. Let's just increment the head and it will point to next process, which is P4. Let's schedule the P4 for 2 time units and decrement its burst time by 2. So the remaining burst time is still 2. Just to tally, as of now, if you look at the process P4, from 8 to 10 I have given 2 time units, and from 18 to 20 again I have given 2 time units. So total 4 time units have been already allocated for the process P4. That's why the remaining burst time as of now in the future will be 2 time units. So at time t is equal to 20, process P4 will go back in the queue because it requires time in future also. And let's increment the head, which will point to P6 now. Let me schedule the P6 process, and it will take 2 time units, and at time 22 it is going to finish because its burst time is going to be 0 now. Alright, so there is only one process in queue now. Let's increment the head and let's schedule the process P4. From 22 to 24 it will run and its burst time will reach to 0. That's how all the processes remaining burst time is 0 now. And here we complete the Gantt chart. Let us discuss the effect of this time quantum value when it is small versus when it is large. When the time quantum set by the OS is small, let's say 1 millisecond only, then there will be certainly more number of context switches between the processes. For example, let's take a process which require total 500 milliseconds and the time quantum value is 5 milliseconds. In that case, the total number of time quantums required by this process is 500 millisecond divided by 5 millisecond is 100 time quantums. That means OS needs to do the context switching 100 times for this particular process. On the other hand, if the time quantum value is large, there will be less number of context switches. Let me take the same numbers now. Process require 500 millisecond total and time quantum value I am assuming as 500, let us take at 100 milliseconds. So total time required is 500 milliseconds and time quantum is 100 milliseconds. In that case, only 5 time quantums are required. So OS needs to do the context switching for this process only 5 times. So there will be less context switching overhaul. Advantage of having the small time quantum is the processes waiting in the queue will get their chance in CPU early. Let me take an example here again. Let me assume the time quantum is 2 milliseconds and there are 5 processes waiting in the queue. So let's assume that the process P1 starts at 0. So after 2 millisecond, time quantum will over, and at time t is equal to 2, process P2 will get chance. Again at time t is equal to 4, P3 will get chance. At time t is equal to 6, P4 will get chance, and so on. Whereas if I keep the time quantum as large, let's do the calculation one more time. If I keep the time quantum as 10 milliseconds, then the first process will get the chance at 0, let's assume. The second process in the queue will get the chance at time 10. The third process will get the chance at time 20. The fourth process will get the chance at time 30, and so on. So that's how process will get the chance in CPU not early when the time quantum value is large. I can say that having the time quantum small is good for those interactive processes which needs the CPU very early. So that's how we complete the round robin algorithm. Let me summarize this. Round robin algorithm is used by many operating systems like Windows, Linux, Android operating system, Mac operating systems, etc. Because in the round robin algorithm is the only algorithm which does not suffer from starvation problem. Means every process is going to get the chance in CPU with the guarantee. In the next session, I will be starting with the next topic in the process management, which is inter-process communication, synchronization and concurrency. Thank you for watching this video. See you in the next session.